again, ladies and gentlemen, as we are joined by Candy Panda from SK Gaming. Another win on the books for SK Gaming, and this time versus Rocket. They feared you guys coming in. What was the plan for taking them down?
Last time we played Rocket, we focused on Calaver, and we did this time as well. We banned Caitlyn, and since they had first pick, we knew they would take something OP like Elise or Kayle, so we could second pick the Lucian. And then he was stuck with Israel or Jinx, which in our opinion is not so strong.
And Vayne was banned away. I would actually like to know from your point of view, because you're pretty much the only one playing Vayne, how strong do you actually think she is? And do you feel like she's up there with the rest of the AD carries?
Yeah, so I feel like Vayne and Premade and Vayne and solo queue are two different things. I think in solo queue it's unplayable almost. Either you last pick it versus when it fits perfectly or you can't play it. But in Premade there are a lot more options. Like you can tell your team that I need 2 bans. I need to ban Annie and Caitlyn so I can play Vayne. That's not possible in solo queue. Also, you can lane swap or you can tell your jungler to camp your lane. You can do a lot of stuff. So Vayne is a lot more playable than Premade. So if you manage to do that, you can actually play her really well.
So Annie and Caitlyn banned out to facilitate your Vayne, yet leaving Vander on his beloved Thresh. Are you guys not that afraid of him?
So when the picks and spans were finished, we were actually a bit scared because we gave them Kayle, Thresh, and Elise, like 3 of the comfort picks. But our champs were good against their picks. Like even though it were like their picks, we had the counter picks to them kind of. So it wasn't scary. I don't feel like Thresh is that good because the only way he can make something happen is by pressuring you out of lane, which is hard if you play good, or like he hits a hook. And if you can avoid getting hooked, then he's not so hard to play against.
So you're saying you played very well?
You could say it like that, yeah.
What about the Aatrox pick then? Because we haven't seen Aatrox in such a long time, and you pull it out in the top lane. What was the idea?
Since Trundle and Renekton were banned, and we had actually planned to pick Jax, because like that's like a good pick. But they picked Jax, and we had the last pick, so Freddy was like, okay, 3 champions are gone, I don't know what I'm gonna play, but we trained some Aatrox. I can pressure Jax early and it's gonna be fine, so he just picked the Aatrox.
Everything actually went quite well. You go ahead.
And it also fits like with our playstyle. Like Aatrox is very aggressive, he can jump in and he can pressure the lane, so it fit.
So being very aggressive is also something you did yesterday versus Alliance, and it initially worked very well, but then that game just heartbreaking for you. Tell me how that ended up.
Yeah, so the game against Alliance, like, I don't know what happened after the game was over. I just was so sad. Like, we had the game and I like threw it so hard. I pressured my team to go mid and attack the tower, even though we couldn't. I had like 3k gold. I should have went base, but I was like, okay, we're just gonna do this now. And I was just like, I was tilting. Like, it never happened to me. But this one time against Alliance in 1 year, it happened this one time. And
versus
really sad.
Nif too.
Yeah, it was Nif.
Well, it was still a good game, and you guys, as you said yourself, you were in the lead and then kind of went wrong. So that actually leads me to the question now. How good do you think you guys are? Are you like top 2 in Europe, top 3? Where do you guys see yourself?
I think we are top 4 in Europe. I think that's good enough. That's what we're aiming for the split. If we can keep this, I think we are where we want to be for the spring split. Of course, if we can, we will go higher, but top 4 is where we want to be, and that's where we are right now, I feel like.
Yeah, you guys have definitely stepped up. 2 teams looking to step up are also, of course, Millennium and Alliance here in our next game. Defisho, who are you calling it for?
I'll give it to Alliance. They actually looked strong yesterday. They managed to pull in the comeback on SK, and it is even-numbered week, so I'll have to give it to Alliance. But again, it is European LCS. 50-50 as always.
So safe. What about you, Candy?
Oh, well, it's an even week, so Alliance is going to win. It's not even close.
It's not even close. Thank you very much. Great game from you once again.
Thanks.
And now we're going to rejoin Joe and Quickshot, have the next match lined up.
Thank you very much, guys. Next up is our 4th game of the day, Millennium versus Alliance. And before we get into this match, we sat down with Millennium to hear how their AD carry Creaton found his calling in League of Legends and quickly took his talents to the pro level.
I grew up in a small city in Poland, Kozienice. I was always a kid that was going outside, playing sports with my friends. I started to sit in front of PC at age of 14, I guess, something like this. I made level 30 pretty fast, and I made 2300 elo like instantly. At this point I realized that I could actually achieve something in this game. I'm a calm person, even if I'm like on a tilt in solo, if I lose 10 games in a row, I just prefer to stop playing instead of losing and losing and losing more.
He has a great personality. I don't know how to describe it. He's like, he's calm in game, but then out of the game he's really like a crazy guy, and I love that.
He was just a new guy for me when I joined, and yeah, he was like instant my friend.
I think I don't have a lot of fans, like I'm not that kind of star, but I have really great fans. Polish community is really supportive, and they will always tell you the truth. They will tell you that you play bad and try to cheer you up to play better, and if you play good, they will realize that you play good and just cheer for you. The hardest moment for me, it was after I broke my arm. I recovered, and it was Gamescom coming, and I knew that I'm not playing really good, but I have to play really good because the most important matches in our lives are coming. This feeling that I'm gonna probably fail before the game because I knew that I'm playing bad was really destroying me before the games. I was just trying not to fail instead of carry as usual. With like more time, it's getting funnier and funnier for me. If someone would tell me that he broke his hand by door, I would laugh.
I told him like the door was like 3k elo and don't fight him.
The door attacked me.
He can 1v1 like every single LCS player, but not a door. He's seriously the best mechanically AD carry I've seen. When you sit like behind him and you saw like the team fights, it's just amazing what he can do.
Basically, he's overall a really good AD carry.
So I would love to play on World Championships. It's my main goal in League of Legends. In the last split, I thought that I'm like one of the best AD carries in the LCS. Right now we have a lot of great players, and it's really hard to stay on top. My teammates are trying to motivate me to play more and more and more, and we're just playing. It's kind of like a routine, but when World Championship is coming, I have to be in my best shape of my life and just prove myself on the stage. I'm gonna practice as hard as I can, and I know that there will come a point that I'm gonna become a better player.
Really great look into Creaton, and really his life there and the way that he's got into League of Legends. And I think he nailed it though right at the end that he needs to step up here for Millennium if they're going to pick up some wins.
Yeah, especially if you contrast his performances from this split, barring one Lucian, to last split when he was playing Vayne. I distinctly have flashbacks of Lissandra top lane in his Vayne just tearing teams apart. I'm sad I haven't seen it from him as much this year.
Well, there is still Vayne in the game, so we may see that Vayne coming out. But yesterday, Millennium lost a game to the Copenhagen Wolves after starting fairly well. They had a small kill lead, they got a few early towers, but they never really took a hold and a control of the game.
Yeah, Millennium once again performed well in my opinion, but unfortunately they had another team composition that didn't have strong initiation. In order for Millennium to actually force objectives, they needed to find kills or picks, and they couldn't do it. Kurt played Fizz, but this time he was not able to burst anyone down. And very importantly, they didn't have a team comp that could buy him enough time for him to really do anything, going 4-4-4.
And on the other side, Alliance actually picked a whole new set of champions yesterday. Irelia in the top lane again for Wicked, Wukong in the jungle, Sivir AD, and Morgana support. All picked for the first time here for Alliance. It was an incredibly dramatic game as well, with the swings in control from one team to the other. But overall, Alliance were the team that edged it out.
Yeah, now Alliance actually had a very strong early game. They got themselves kills, towers, and dragons. But then, unfortunately, Shook was caught out a few times. This cost Alliance a Baron and an inhibitor, but they didn't get down on themselves. They followed by getting SK Gaming kills after kills. SK were caught out of position. It allowed Alliance to capitalize by grabbing the reins back. They went 19, 11, and 54 in their game yesterday. And I think after Alliance secured the first dragon and the first tower, they didn't touch a single tower until the endgame team fight, which happened at 34 minutes and 46 seconds on the clock. And then they ended the game 1 minute later. So there was a period of like 25 minutes where they didn't touch a single big objective.
Yeah, and junglers are important for these teams as well. When Shook or Aranea perform well, the teams are winning, but this isn't always the case for these two players.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Their respective teams got off to rocky starts this split, but both have plucked together a few wins along the way. If you compare their numbers, they are very similar. Arenea's got a 57% kill participation, while Shook has 61%. For this game, the jungler that has the more positive impact could determine the outcome of the game. And I use my words positive impact intentionally because Aranea and Shook have a habit of being caught out of position.
Caught out of position. Let's have a look, though, at the starting lineups here. Starting on the blue side with Millennium. They are Kevin in the top lane, Aranea in the jungle, Kerp in the mid lane, the AD carry and support are, of course, Creaton and J-Ree.
And, of course, on the red side, it is Alliance. Wicked is up top. Shook is in the jungle. Froggen is in the mid lane. With Tabs and Nif has the AD carry and support.
So as we move into champion select then, where are we looking for the bans specifically in this one? What's the focus going to be? We talked about the junglers. Is that where they're going to be aiming?
So LeBlanc is going to be a very important one first before the junglers because both of these mid laners like to play that champion.
Yeah.
I think both junglers have fairly deep champion pools. We've seen the Elise being pulled out, we've seen Wukong, we've seen Pantheon, we've seen Evelynn on the side of Aranea. So any number of those could be key. I almost wonder if we may see bans elsewhere in other positions because of the fact that we've seen these junglers sort of diversifying their champion pools in recent weeks.
Will they see an Irelia ban? Is Wicked going to have his Irelia banned away from him for the first time in over a year, since Season 2?
Don't think so.
I
think the Irelia was good yesterday, but I think it was because it was in a matchup where he had time to farm against the Dr. Mundo. So unless we see a lot of top lane bans, I'm not expecting it to be taken off the table. I think one that we can definitely highlight is going to be the likes of that LeBlanc. See mid lane bans already going out. Kassadin also has to be a consideration here.
Well, you're not wrong on that one. Kassadin banned by the red side. Who would have thought it? Thresh was taken away from J-Ree as well. And as you said, the mid lane, in fact, 3 mid lane bans. Kayle, Ziggs, and Karthus all aimed at Froggen. We did see Karthus banned against Alliance yesterday by SK Gaming. Kind of surprised it a little bit, but if you dig a little bit deeper, it became clear that obviously Alliance had been practicing that in scrims. They also banned out the Varus against them, so that'll be interesting if that comes on the table for Alliance.
I think this might be a jungle ban. I think with Elise and Evelynn open, those are options for Alliance to consider. And we did talk about how both of these teams may stray away from those junglers, and we talked about it, how important LeBlanc was for both mid laners. Fizz is still up and available. It's something that Millennium have run multiple times in the past, and it is something Kerp will consider if Alliance don't pick too much CC to lock him down.
Yeah, and we see there the first pick actually for Millennium was Lucian. Interestingly enough, if you look at Tabs, and I think we mentioned this before the game yesterday, that actually when they win, his scores are pretty incredible. In fact, he's not really died all that much in their wins. If I look at his scores, 403, 926, 507, 607, 7110. Tabs doesn't die when they're doing well, so we'll see what AD carry he comes onto with Lucian gone. For Alliance, their picks were the Renekton for Wicked in the top lane, and Shook's going to get the Elise.
So in terms of the picks that we're expecting for Tabs, I think Caitlyn has to be the obvious choice. Lucian and Caitlyn are the sort of go-to AD carries at this point in time, and it's something that Tabs has played a lot of as well. His Caitlyn mechanics, if I can use that word, his positioning is very, very good as we've gone later in the split. Earlier on, he was doing a few silly things, and it got him caught out of position. What I'm interested to see is where Alliance goes for their mid laner. Because we know Orianna is still up and available, something Froggen's played before. And Nivea, he's actually played this split. And with so many mid lane bans, I wonder if one of these players might not go for a Gragas. It is an opportunity.
Wow, are we going to see Hecarim coming back in here? Aranea did play a lot of him in the summer split of the 2013. Just forget what I said, because it's Evelynn. Something that we have already seen Aranea bringing to the table and worked decently well for them. In fact, their win against SK, he played an Evelynn, which didn't have a massive scoreline, but he did all the right things there.
Yeah, and when they played against Gambit, it was Aranea's Evelynn that went, I think, 4-1 in the early stages of the game. He did very, very well, but unfortunately, he was the only form of initiation. I keep calling out wave clear and initiation because they are two very crucial things at LCS level. And right now, Millennium don't have any way of actually starting a fight. I wonder if either J-Ree or Nif are going to go for the likes of the Annie or the Leona because both supports are still up.
Well, Annie may just be that choice. Sivir was locked in, so they've got one half of that duo. And will they take then the Annie for Nif in this one? He's played a whole host of supports himself. Morgana, of course, the one that he pulled out yesterday, which worked so very well for them. But this time around, it's going to be Annie Sivir. And what will that actually leave here on the table for Millennium to be going for? It's looking like Gragas and I was going to say Vayne, but that wouldn't make much sense since we've already got Lucian as the first pick.
Yeah, I think just highlighting Vayne for fun at this point in time. The Leona is locked in. Now, this is great for Millennium because their last few games, they have sort of stalled in the mid game. They've earned themselves leads, and then they've just been unable to actually lock themselves a good, a clean team fight. We highlighted the fact that Gragas was still available. This is a safe pick for Kerb, and I think now that it's locked in, the Millennium composition does a lot of things very well. If you have J-Reese Leona initiating with the Solar Flare and let Aranea coming in from the side with that Agony's Embrace, that is a very strong, powerful initiation. Goes a little bit wrong, hey, Gragas can throw down his barrel to disperse everyone, and Trundle's got his pillar for some good counter engage as well.
Actually, the second time only that we're seeing the Leona this season for Millennium, and that came in their week 1 loss, the second game of the season against Gambit. So interesting that he brings that now back to the table with obviously the Thresh already gone out there and Annie already taken away from him. What are Alliance going to bring to the table now? This is the pick for Froggen. Is he going to go for the Anivia or is he going to go a different direction?
My instinct actually says Anivia might not be bad in this situation. You've got zone control, and Orianna could be a possibility as well. And I really don't know what Froggen's going to be thinking about. Yasuo has been banned, I think, 6 times up until this point against Froggen. It is open and available. Nobody else can give a knock-up. He's locked it in. So we are going to be seeing Froggen on Yasuo. Now, this is going to be very difficult for Froggen because he is going to be responsible for his own knockups right now. There's not a lot of other displacement on his team. So if Froggen doesn't get ahead in lane, team fights are going to be incredibly difficult for him to get a very good last breath off.
And this is going to be the first time that we actually see this season Froggen on a melee fighter champion, you know, one that's going to dive in there. He plays, you know, your more traditional APs in the mid lane, the Gragas, the Orianna, Kayle, and obviously Anivia as well that he's brought to the table. So interested how he does with this Yasuo. It's funny because you look at the bans against Alliance, and for the first week, he was banned in pretty much every single game against them. But even when it was open a little bit later on, he didn't bring the Yasuo to the table. And this time, they've not even got any knockups in the team to help him out.
So it's quite a weird combination that Alliance have gone for. Because they've got that Yasuo in the mid lane, if you look at the rest of the composition, with Elise, with Renekton and Sivir, they're very mobile. So they may want to be running around a lot to cause those fights, as opposed to a Wombo combo with his ultimate.
Well, we're going to find out on that one. Very excited to see that Yasuo in action. And we're just a moment away from the match. So let's check out the voting. According to LOLesports.com, 65% of you are calling this one in Alliance's favor. 65%. Interesting there because it's an even week, and we know that Alliance apparently can only win when it's an even week.
Yeah, I've got a lot of tweets over the course of these last 2 days basically saying mathematics and statistics do not lie. And statistically speaking, the odds are in Alliance's favor. They won their game yesterday. They were losing for 20 minutes. They lost an inhibitor. Yeah. They lost a Baron. But then all of a sudden, the power of the even week allowed them to pull back, forced SK to stay when they shouldn't have.
Yeah, some even odds favoring person is apparently looking down on them to make sure that they do well in these even weeks. And it is also Froggen's birthday today, so we should mention happy birthday to Froggen. No pressure on you on your birthday, on an even week where you've never lost on an even week. Bringing Yasuo into the game for the first time. But here we go then. We are going to jump into game. It's Millennium versus Alliance. How is this one all going to go down? Alliance looking for a win. As we said, they've not done well. I mean, it's kind of hit and miss for them. Unfortunately for them, the super week that we started off with 4 games was on the even week. So they lost 4 right off the bat. But since then, well, I think hit and miss is the right way to describe Alliance's performance.
With this team comp, as long as Alliance don't get hit by every single one of Millennium's abilities, the mobility and the skirmish power of their champions should allow them to quite literally run rings around Millennium. Now, Millennium have got stronger initiation. With that Leona on their side, the Solar Flare is a much safer, longer range initiate for Millennium to basically count on. We're looking at Alliance's side, and they're going to be relying on a Flash Tibbers in conjunction with the movement speed from Sivir. So I think team fights, if, like I said, Alliance do not get caught by a multitude of Millennium's abilities, I think they have the tools to kite and run around Millennium to win fights.
I'm interested to see Froggen's wind walls in these as well, because he can block, well, pretty much everything that Gragas can throw your way. We know he likes walls. He plays Anivia. He's famous for his Anivia, and he's good at walls. So that could go working for him.
Yeah, Karthus was banned as well, Wall of Pain with that champion, so he knows how to aim them. What I think is going to be very difficult for Millennium, now that we're about to get the laning phase underway, is Creaton and J-Ree are going to have such a difficult time dealing with Annie and Siva. Annie is the longest range support in the game right now. She's got an incredible auto attack range. In addition to the stun potential, you can zone a champion like Leona very effectively. We'll see how far forward Nif actually plays this, because he's got the tools to control Creaton and J-Ree.
So here's the start for both junglers. Areneas, Evelyn starting off on the blue buff. Shook starting on the top side of his jungle as well, doing the red. Both of them, of course, getting a little bit of a helping hand from the Trundle and Renekton that we're going to be seeing in that top lane. I'm sure a few of you are sad not to see Aurelia here for a second day running, but to be honest, when the Renekton is in there, it's not unlikely to see Wicked just going straight for that one. This mid lane, Yasuo versus Gragas, what are your thoughts on this one?
So both champions are melee, both champions have got ranged harass, but of course Froggen needs to charge up 3 charges of that Steel Tempest. He's just skilled it right now. Luckily for Froggen, once his flow bar is full like this, he will actually get a damage shield every time Kerp jumps on him. I don't actually think either champion has got kill potential until level 6. And I feel once Froggen puts some points into that wind wall, it's going to be so difficult for Kerp to outplay him, because as long as Froggen saves it for a explosive cast, it's just going to get removed and it's not going to affect him at all.
Very interesting to see how Froggen does on that one. Just, you know, when the time when things were moving to more assassins in this mid lane, Froggen had trouble, to be honest, because his champion pool and the way that he likes play just didn't really suit that one. So interesting to see what he does here with the Yasuo. We can see that Aranea already being the invisible Evelyn problem that he is, headed down towards his bottom lane. But the position that Alliance actually had there is probably the best positioning on that bottom lane to get rid of the Evelyn, because she can't move in without you spotting it.
And very importantly as well, Jerry actually missed his Zenith Blade as well. Zenith didn't connect, so there was no CC onto Nif. It's going to be very difficult for Leona to even get onto Siva because of the spell shield. So she's going to be able to spell shield at least one of the CCs. And in order for Jerry to lock tabs down, he's going to need to go all in. He has to land the Shield of Daybreak and he has to land a Solar Flare, because at least one of those can be mitigated.
Shook is actually in the Millennium jungle right now. See the Aranea just coming around towards the Wraiths, and Shook actually took the southern route and is headed up behind him, and he's going to see that those Wraiths are in fact being done, so he'll move straight in. Actually lands a cocoon here on towards Aranea. That's going to be good damage coming down. Not enough to actually finish off though.
Yeah, Aranea is not going to have a good time. Anytime he wants to duel Elise, Elise has got so many more tools in her kit, has all of her abilities available at level 3, has got, you know, percentage damage, has got built-in sustain, can close gaps thanks to the spider form. So Aranea just needs to try and farm his way up. And what we tend to see with Evelyn's is getting to level 6 and then using that ultimate, the slow from Agony's Embrace, to try and get in and control the lane.
This top lane, Trundle versus Renekton. A good old traditional top lane matchup by now.
Yeah, and if Renekton doesn't beat Trundle in lane, he's doing something wrong. We do tend to see the CS going his way. Nif has been stunned.
Nif has been stunned here, but again, I don't think they've got the damage to follow up, as Jerry going to catch a full combo coming out there from Tabs, but still very early stages in this one, and neither team able to put down the damage to actually secure those kills. So here comes the next move. Shook around that mid area. Kerp not level 6 just yet, so he won't have that explosive cascade. Here they go. They're going to go in there. The knock-up actually landing from Froggen, which is a good sign for future engagements from him. But in the end, they weren't able to take out Kerp. He flashed away.
Now, we did see Shook playing the Elise the last time these two teams played as well. When Millennium and Alliance competed, Shook had a number of deaths to his name. Froggen was playing Kayle in that game, and almost every time Shook died on that Elise, Froggen's Kayle was able to get kills. I think he went 9, 2, and 7 or something similar in that matchup, and did very, very well. We'll see if Shook can repeat that performance here today.
Well, Shook is once again headed in for a bit of action on that top side. There is Kevin. Here comes the repel. They dive onto him. Kevin with an early flash underneath his turret to stay safe. Really quick reactions on that one. Aranea was actually there as well. You can see him just kind of leading off from Shook, basically following him or being followed there and keeping up that vision of Shook.
So we talked about which jungler is going to have a more positive impact on the game. And so far, Shook has earned himself 3 brownie points. He beats Aranea in the jungle at the Wraith camp. He's already got Kerp's flash. He's already got Kevin's flash. And he's found Aranea again.
This is very strange from Aranea. Actually going to come in there. The Wicked's going to come over the top as well. There's the gap closer. And there's the finisher. First blood. What was Aranea thinking?
I don't think Aranea even knew that Shook was there. I believe that he was anticipating Wicked to potentially dive. Just took so much damage, and that was just a poor call by Aranea. Shook now grabs himself first blood. He even got the kill on that one. There was no assist from Wicked, even though Wicked tried to flash for it. But very, very good play from Shook in these early stages. Keep in mind, Elise is basically his signature champion, and he has started very well this game.
And he was gifted that kill, honestly. I mean, Aranea saw him go in that bush, knows that he didn't come out into the lane, so he's either waiting in the bush or he's gone down the south side. Strange one for me, but Aranea giving that one up, that gives Shook that first blood. We can see that a pickaxe has been collected here for Wicked on his first trip home. That means he's going to be going in for that Tiamat first of all.
Yeah, and that's very standard in this Renekton Trundle matchup. Rush the Tiamat, then go for something like a Sunfire Cape on the Renekton. It really allows you to bully and control that Trundle. Aranea is going to donate that blue buff over to Kerp, and I think Kerp just really needs to focus on farming. Because of the power of Windwall, we haven't even seen these two really trading all that often, and it's basically because of the fact that Froggen can A, dodge everything, thanks to that quick draw ability of his E, and of course, if any big barrels come in, he's just going to destroy them with that Windwall.
He's farming up a Storm right now as well, 65 to the 56 of Kerp. Another interesting fact, and then we'll see whether the blue buff actually is given over to Froggen, or whether Shook is actually going to keep that with him and allow him to maybe have a bit more impact around the map from this one. That blue buff is going to be coming up here shortly, so we shall see about that and who exactly is going to get that one. Meanwhile, that lane does just get pushed back onto the turret, a position where Froggen will be quite happy, and there's another Windwall coming out. Barrel comes down and Froggen says, nope, you're not doing anything.
So the one thing to keep in mind is that Windwall does have a very, very high cooldown. It is 26 seconds at rank 1. So Froggen needs to be very careful and time his abilities well. In that time frame, Kerp is going to have another Q available, and if he sees an opportunity, he could catch Froggen out. So we'll see who decides to pull that trigger. As it stands, it is just a full-on farming lane. Now that J-Ree is getting closer to 6, the bottom lane also now gets riskier for Nip, because on Annie, you are actually quite squishy if you get caught out.
And there's the answer to the earlier question of if Shook's going to take the blue buff or give it to Froggen, and he will be taking that for himself. And you see there's a bit of an opportunity maybe for them down in this bottom lane. J-Ree and Creaton pushed up past the halfway point. One thing's sure, they don't know where Aranea is, and that's always the problem we're facing an Evelynn.
Yeah, and if Aranea shows in the next few seconds, it may signal go in this bottom lane. We do have On the Hunt available for tabs. Aranea has showed he's going on Wicked.
They're going to go in on towards Wicked. Can they hold him down? There's a good pillar coming out from Kevin, and Wicked's not escaping this one. Aranea picks up that kill. Meanwhile, down in the bottom, they've managed to get everything on towards J-Ree. Wow, what a solar flare, though. That will stop them pushing in. Brilliant defense from Millennium whilst getting the kill up top.
Yeah, very, very well played. Kevin with a perfectly placed pillar prevents Wicked from getting away. Wicked didn't have his flash. Remember from the earlier kill where he tried to grab something onto Aranea. We did see a flash Tibbers is down for Nif, so he used that to engage. Alliance thinking about Dragon, but this is very risky because the rest of Millennium could come to challenge.
And I wonder if they're actually going to go for this one. The fact is that there's no solar flare in there, but on the other side, a couple of ultimates were used during that one. Sivir and, of course, Tibbers being thrown down from the bottom lane of Alliance, and they also have Millennium, at least the teleport on Trundle that they can factor into those things. So we should keep an eye on Kevin and whether he will be making a visit down towards this bottom side of the map. As it actually happened, they backed away. No Dragon attempt as of yet.
And that's a very important thing that you bring up, the fact that Kevin has that teleport. once Trundle goes for his Blade of the Ruined King and then gets himself towards a Sunfire Cape or similar, he's going to be a very big split pushing threat. Shook has caught Kerp and they're going to go in.
Oh, that's a lot of damage coming in. We did see the barrel thrown at Froggen to keep him away, and that was a wise move from Kerp. Froggen not quite quick enough there to get his wind wall out in time as we've seen him before, and there was a pink ward cleared out by Millennium. So they know that the possibility of that Dragon was there. They now know that they've backed off somewhat from it as well, so Dragon stays alive for a little while.
Yeah, 11 minutes on the clock. Both Millennium and Alliance have had good Dragon control games, and they've both had poor Dragon control games. I think that with the fact that Millennium have got such a strong 5v5 with the Leona, with the Dragons, with the Trundle, Alliance need to be in a very, very strong position if they start Dragon off. Because if they get surrounded, if a teleport comes in or Solar Flare locks them up in the pit, that's going to be a lot of dead Alliance members. So Alliance need to be very, very safe in their decision-making in that area.
Kevin, obviously, with the help of Aranea in this top lane, are able to secure a kill and actually gives the Vamp Scepter and a Chain Vest here for Kevin early on. So he's kind of split in where he's initially going with his build. We see that they've started off Dragon, but there is a ward there currently, and they're going to teleport to it. Here comes the rest of Millennium. Who are they going to go for? They're all over the place right now, and Aranea's going to get focused very, very low. He actually did flash into the rest of his team. Kevin's taking up. Here comes a Batman from the back. Kurt blows up one of them. Can they get any more? Shook is surely going to be chased and finished off, and it will be a double for Gragas and Kurt. Millennium open themselves up the Dragon.
The Solar Flare didn't even connect particularly well, but because Alliance have got a stronger team in those situations, Alliance just got split apart, and once Kerp joined the party, he grabs himself some kills. We talked about the fact that Alliance needed to have kills, or they needed to be in a controlling situation in the pit. They had neither, and they just got melted. Their team is not as strong in those enclosed spaces, and Millennium played that one perfectly.
And Kerp is hammering away on this middle turret. He's going to have a fresh wave of minions coming down. Not sure he's going to have the damage to actually finish off before Yasuo gets here. But it's a good chunk of damage done. The top turret did go down there as well for Alliance. That was the first one
Kerp's in trouble.
of the game actually coming in. And he will be in a little bit of trouble here. Possibly. There's the knock-up. There's the ultimate. Kerp throws his barrel out, which will knock Wicked into the turret. And here comes Aranea from the side. He's not got much mana here, Aranea. I was going to say, needs to be real careful. Oh, the cocoon from the side. Froggen getting the kill there with the Steel Tempest.
And now all of a sudden, Alliance, if they want to, they could go for the tower. Instead, they decide that blue buff is up and they want to try and deny that one. We see a couple of pings. They're going to tower dive. All of a sudden, Aranea's in trouble, but running in heals, he's going to get away quite cleanly. There's not even a raid camp to jump to, so Shook's going to take a couple extra turret hits. And that's interesting because now they don't get the tower and they don't get the blue buff instead.
Well, let's see about this, because he might get another tower. The bottom one is being hammered away at by both Tabs and Nif. There's no one really in immediate range to stop this one from happening. That will fall, and it will put Alliance 2-0 up in turrets. They get a blue buff as well here for Shook. So one of the questions that I had earlier about whether Froggen gets it or Shook, this time around they can possibly at least both get it.
Yeah, and what you tend to see whenever you go for those invades and steals is that the jungler will smite it away. You reduce the risk of a steal. Alliance eventually got hold of that blue buff thanks to the kills that they got in that middle lane. I think trying to chase kills down in Aranea and just keep him shut down for as long as possible. Alliance, 2 kills on the board, one of them on the jungler, one of them on Froggen's Yasuo. He's got his static shift completed. Once Froggen gets his Infinity Edge, that's when he becomes absolutely terrifying. Because of the passive of Yasuo giving you that double critical hit chance, you get to 100% thanks to the runes and masteries that he's picked up as well.
And he's going to be getting that blue, as I mentioned just a little bit earlier on as well. Or not. I'm just telling lies. Froggen actually... Whatever.
Fair,
it goes over
like
to
it.
Shook.
It
Yeah, I
like
thought
it.
they were going to do that one, but actually what they're doing is coming down to this bottom lane, which Millennium have a ward already in that tri-bush, so they're going to spot them out there. They're not going to be losing any members down on that bottom side, keeping it safe, and they'll have even seen that Froggen and Shook backing away from that one, and even now coming back into that bottom lane.
So Froggen's just coming in to defend this wave. You see that Tabs wanted to back away. He had enough money to finish that Bloodthirster, grab himself the attack speed dagger as well. And thanks to the fact that Shook moved to the middle lane, he was able to defend. Big Wraith gets stolen away by Kerp as well, so Shook not even, rather Wicked not getting his hands on it. Overall, I think Alliance are doing well for this stage in the game, but they need to avoid getting caught up in those big team fight areas. As it stands, Millennium's composition is better at it. They just have more tools to work with in 5v5s. Aranea is going to try his hand at another gank on Wicked. Wicked doesn't have flash either.
And Aranea does have his ultimate available. Have they got the damage here? This is a Renekton that's rushed Tiamat. It's not a tanky Renekton that we might see in other times. And the pillar goes down. He's going to pop his ultimate, but he's not getting out of that one. Kevin picks up a kill. And to be honest, Wicked has just had no impact in this top lane. They've controlled him.
No, Kevin and Aranea just made that look so easy. Even though Wicked has given himself a small CS lead of 25, he's got 2 deaths to his name, 1 kill for Kevin, 1 kill for Aranea. You do have to give him credit for at least securing the tower. So if or when Alliance decide to push around the map, that objective is no longer there for them. But because of the fact that Alliance have got those 2 towers, that's the only reason their gold is still a little bit ahead. Millennium with a very good gank in that top lane.
Yeah, and the scary thing is that Millennium haven't taken any turrets yet at this point in the game. So once they start to fall, that gold swing is going to be coming in. And the other thing that could influence that is the fact that Dragon is coming up once again here in less than 2 minutes. And we've already seen that Dragon has drawn in the big fights in this game.
Now, Alliance need to have learned from that previous Dragon fight. Alliance cannot afford to start it off again without having full vision. And if they are on the Dragon, play it like you play Baron. Peel away from it the moment you see a member of Millennium there and try to take them down. I mean, we've seen Jerry and Creaton coming from the bottom lane in that previous engagement. Alliance have the tools to find a quick kill and then fight with more numbers, but they need to be very quick on the trot.
Wicked, after dying there, I said he's only got that team out, which was true at the time, but he was obviously sitting on quite a boatload of gold because he comes back in with Giant's Belt, Chain Vest, and a Negatron Cloak in there as well. On the other side, Sunfire Cape is finished off for Kevin's Trundle along with the Cutlass as well, so he's going up to that pretty standard Blade of the Rune King as well.
We're at this point in the game now that Kevin has hit the item threshold and the level threshold where the lane bullion strength of Renekton has now been mitigated. Because of all of the ability points that Kevin has got in that frozen domain, the fact that he can subjugate the tanky stats of Wicked, and he can chomp to reduce his attack damage, Kevin all of a sudden now has control of this lane. So we'll see if Kevin can make the additional CS up and try catch back up to Wicked, but as it stands, he's doing a very good job in a lane matchup that was against him from the start.
Well, will Froggen take the bake here on the bottom lane? It's Creaton who's farming himself up there, and Froggen just sits back and says no. Oh, Zenith Blade missing there from Jerry. That would have set them up nicely to have a go at Froggen. In the end, if it doesn't land, you can't really do much about that one.
So that's the second time we've seen Jerry trying to make it happen with Aranea waiting in the wings. What I like from Millennium is that they're not committing once it misses. They do back away. If the kill had happened, because Dragon is up literally right now, it would have allowed Millennium to get in on the Dragon. Teleport is available for Kevin. We'll see if he's deciding to go back. And Wicked is already moving down the lane. But look at the positioning of Millennium. They've got such a good zone control.
Too slow.
Alliance aren't even challenging.
Yeah, nowhere near it. There's Wicked too slow to come down from the top lane, and that will be a free Dragon for Millennium. 2 out of 2 now that they do have. And the fact that their duo lane is no longer in that bottom lane, or wasn't even in the middle lane where they'd moved to during the start of that Dragon, which for me is a little bit strange considering they knew the timer on the Dragon. Not planned out maybe as Alliance were looking for. Something we've talked about in the past, that their objective control rotations and general calls have not really been all that strong, and that's a good example of it right there.
Perfect example of it. Unfortunately, Alliance responding too late. Even after the showing, even after Millennium tried to get a kill on Froggen, there was no alarm bells going, oh, hang on a minute, Dragon's up right now. So, fortunately, Alliance, they don't get control of the pit. What we do see from the rest of Millennium, though, is they seem to be quite happy stalling this game out and extending it. And I think it's a smart decision. Trundle is going to scale very, very well. Kerpon Gragas is going to do incredible amounts of damage in the late game. Think back to Battle of the Atlantic, where he threw the barrels out against, was it CLG if memory serves correctly, and just melted them. He popped them with a good combo. And Alliance, they are not going to be super strong in a tower siege situation. Alliance want fights in large open spaces where they can kite and dodge Millennium's abilities.
Yeah, they're not going to have much to offer under the towers, are they? That's for sure. A little bit of poke here and there, but not really all that much for Alliance. So we'll see about that one as things develop. We're about to hit the 20-minute mark, so let's run down the gold and how it stands. Currently, there's not a big difference whatsoever. It's around about 400 gold separating them. Alliance do have the turret lead, though, on that one, so as soon as those turrets are leveled up, it's going to give Millennium the edge.
In terms of the power that the teams have, they need to play different games. I think Millennium have got a slightly better split pusher with a teleport Trundle, but they have less effective assassins. I think that if Yasuo, Elise, and Annie get on a target, regardless of who it is, there's very good kill potential. All of a sudden, Wicked is in trouble as here comes Aranea.
He's in trouble again in the top side, and he's going to be caught out. He puts his ultimate down, but that's not going to be enough to keep him alive. Kevin picks that one up. A third time, just completely caught out there. Meanwhile, down at the bottom, we see a lot of pings coming in. Actually, Alliance have been spotted from this one. Jerry going to get ulted on by Froggen. Can he actually get away from this one? He's used the Solar Flare. He's Zenith plays out on towards Shook and then flashes over the wall. It's all about the cocoon. Where's the cocoon? The spider, and the cocoon does land. Froggen picks it up.
Shook was able to 1v1 Creaton. All of Creaton's HP is missing because of the damage Shook put down. He's got a Haunting Guise and Sorcerer's Shoes already completed. While that was happening, Froggen jumped onto Jayuri instantly, and Alliance, as we talked about, have got very good assassins. They've got burst damage, and they can shut single targets down. What Alliance need to do now is figure out how to get onto the objective. Aranea is doing good wave clear in the mid lane, and at the end of the day, Kevin got the tower up top, so losing Jayuri for flashes from Alliance plus a tower, I think Millennium will be happy with that trade.
Yeah, we saw that Aranea pushing out, and just the pure nature of those hate spikes that Sivir with a short range can't actually stand behind the minions and hit the tower without the hate spike splashing through and doing the damage. That's a bit of a pain actually for Sivir on these turrets, and obviously Nif with a bigger range doesn't really do all that much damage to them. But Alliance here looking like they're going to be recalling out somewhat. One thing that we should definitely point out now is the mid laners. Rabadon's death cap is done for Gragas, but the Infinity Edge is done for Froggen's Yasuo.
Now, the fact that he's got the Infinity Edge is a very big power spike. He's going to have basically guaranteed critical hits right now. It should be at 100% thanks to his runes and those 2 items. He's got no lifesteal, so Froggen is looking to just blow somebody up and then move onto a turret. If you think to yesterday's game, Millennium ran a composition with Elise, Renekton, and Annie. They had 3 of the 5 picks. They had Fizz in the mid lane, another assassin. And the problem for Millennium was at this stage of the game, the 20 to 40 minute mark, they had no way of starting a fight. Right now, Alliance is in a very similar position. They're trying to brute force onto the tower, taking some damage, and here comes Curve from behind.
Oh, they're going to go, first of all, on towards Wicked. He's taking a decent amount of damage. Actually, Aranea going to get cocooned. There's a great Solar Flare. They're focusing down Nif for the back, and Nif will fall. Creaton gets that one. Can he take any more? He's definitely got the power to have a good go at it. Wicked, oh, brilliant pillar comes down. Kevin actually getting that one, and there he goes, flashing over the wall on towards Shug, who was on a ward, so they had the vision of him. Where's the spider going to go? Repels up over the top on towards the golems. But can he escape this one? There's minions there, so they're going to get the vision of him. Here comes Kurt from around the side. There's the barrel after the body slam. 3 for 1.
3 for 1. Froggen was trying to move to the mid lane to fight. He has split push to get a tower at the very least. So what Alliance realize is they cannot start a fight in a 5v5 because they're afraid of the power. In addition to that, because they lack initiation, you see Alliance trying to force this middle lane tower. They didn't even get the tower. Millennium come, they have a good flank from the side, and Tibbers was blown just on Aranea. Nobody else was stunned. Creaton has been untouched. He's literally in between 4 members of Alliance and has not taken any damage until this very second. Here comes Kevin from the backside, and he's just going to be able to close the fight out. I think Alliance did not need to force that. Alliance didn't need to. They could have just backed away, let Froggen split push, and tried to take it when it was a little safer.
And Aranea actually proudly told me last week after the show, my strategy that seems to have been working out decently for us is to quite simply die, to be the focus of the fights for the enemy team. And you just saw it, you said it yourself looking at that replay, how much they threw in at Aranea, and they were completely focused on him as well. One thing to note here, Thornmail's been picked up by Kevin, so he has got an absolute ton of armor at this point. And again, we saw the downfall of the Sivir. Tiny range trying to hit those turrets leaves her in complete easy Solar Flare range, or not just Solar Flare range, but everything really that Millennium have got to start off.
Everything range. It's a new phrase.
Everything
We're going to coin it. That Thornmail is also very important because Renekton, Yasuo, and Sivir do rely a fair amount on their auto attacks. Yasuo is going to be throwing out those Steel Tempests, but in between his Steel Tempests, he's going to be casting a lot of abilities to deal damage, and the Thornmail is going to reduce all of that physical. So very good item pickup. I think Kevin's going to need or want more HP before he becomes super, super unkillable, but this is something that Alliance is also lacking that we haven't really touched on yet. There is a severe lack of magic damage. There is no bursty mage. Yes, Elise and Annie are going to offer some magic damage, but nowhere near the same scale as a Deathcap Void Staff Gragas, which is what we're in the makings of right now.
Yeah, and another thing about that Thornmail, let's not forget that 30% of Froggen's 100% crit strikes that he puts down onto Trundle are going to be returned to him as well, so that's a surefire way for Froggen to almost kill himself in those scenarios. Be interesting to see. Obviously, he's not going to want to touch Kevin when it comes to that. The same goes there for Tabs. So we'll see once it comes towards these next team fights. Right now, Froggen is pushing down this top lane, trying to push it up once again, but we're going to see Gragas actually coming across the side here, which is going to say, nope, you're not going to go through. Just stop that wave.
So watching the way the game is being played out now for these last 5 or 6 minutes, if memory serves, when Alliance played against Super Hot Crew, Froggen was on Kayle, and Alliance couldn't win team fights. They weren't strong enough to challenge the Super Hot Crew. They weren't really in a position where they could pick fights. So what Froggen did in that game was try to split push solo. He left the rest of his team to sit in a 4-on-4, 4-on-5 situation and said, I want towers, I want to try control the map. And that's what Froggen seems to be doing. For a long time now, he's been in that bottom or the top lane just farming. He's got a fair number of towers. I mean, he's down towards that inhibitor turret in the top lane, but it's not really offering him a huge amount of control. RNA is in trouble.
Yeah, face check into that one, and he might just have to actually got no flash to burn from this one in the end, though. There comes Kevin around the side, the troll pillar coming in, and Shook can't chase on any further. But again, risky times for RNA, but he has got the Randuins in there now, so he's a little bit tankier than he was before.
Only against physical damage.
True story.
Because all of that damage Shook just put out was magic, and RNA lost 60% of his HP, but he's got no MR. I mean, he's got armor boots, and he's got, I don't even know what that amp term is going to become. We'll see what he decides to work towards. But at this stage, at this point in time, Shook can deal damage. Froggen's been caught out.
Yeah, you killed yourself, Froggen. That's not good. RNA comes around the side. Is he going to chase over the top? No, Froggen's got away. Creaton's actually coming in from this one, though. He will go over the top of the wall. The repel from Shook brought him back on towards RNA. He'll pay the price. Oh, he flashed straight in towards the ultimate out of J-Re. The Zenith blade caught him in the end. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Both junglers dead.
I don't understand the flash, though. I mean, he was definitely going to go down. I don't know if he was just trying to deny the kill credit to Creaton or maybe just reduce an assist, but at the end of the day, he gets taken out, gets dropped in that situation, and now Alliance, they do get a 1-for-1 trade jungler for jungler. Froggen gets away, and we've seen Wicked trying to get towards the turret in the bottom lane, but unfortunately, wave clear from Millennium is just too strong, so it's not going to happen this time.
We see that Froggen up to 304 CS, quite a way behind our new record, which I believe was 684 or 5, somewhere around that ridiculous region. Actually, that was put up by Forgiven in their game yesterday for the Copenhagen Wolves. Let's see if we get anywhere near that level in this one. We're 28 minutes in currently. Millennium holding on to a lead, but it's only a 2,000 gold lead at this point.
It is a small gold lead. You have to remember that Millennium have had dragon control, Alliance are a tower ahead, and in terms of those the gold difference, it is made up from the CS. Every single one of the lanes for Alliance is slightly ahead, barring the supports, and even that isn't a particularly big deal right now. But Froggen, he needs to have a bigger impact on this Yasuo. We've seen him controlling the waves and controlling the towers fairly well, but his last breaths haven't necessarily netted him the kills that we were anticipating. And because he's got nobody else on his team to actually synergize for those knockups to make it easier to get a last breath, you have to question the thought process behind that pick in this composition.
And speaking about that, all that physical damage that Alliance have here, we see that actually the Warden's Mail is now added in there for Kevin as well, so he's going to have, well, a boatload of armor.
And I think RNA may even be working himself towards a Zhonya's Hourglass. He's got the makings of that Seeker's Arm Guard, and like you said, with all the physical damage from Alliance, the moment Millennium hit that armor peak where every single one of them has some form of armor, it's going to work in their favor. There is a Last Whisper for Tabs, and Froggen is going to get bonus armor reduction from his last breath, but he needs to hit you with it. So he needs to get his ultimate across multiple members of Millennium to burn through some of the excess armor, which again makes it very difficult when you've got the only knock-up on your team.
He's going to be needing a last whisper in there, that's for sure. If we get to that stage at this point, we are in a bit of a farm game. Shook actually not going to get caught out there. Arane was just on top of him, and we saw the sweeping lens just being used to clear out what vision was there. Tab's actually on this top side, so Kevin, I say Kevin might be in trouble here, but that's really just over-dramatizing the fact that he's never going to go down to Sivir and Renekton.
For a conversation point, at 30 minutes into the game, because of the movement speed that Kevin gets from his frozen domain, he still hasn't picked up boots. He's been running across the map barefoot right now, and you still can't catch him or lock him down because of the power that Trundle has. And you know what? Alliance haven't even tried. Here come Millennium, look for Solar Flare.
Oh, that was a really good cocoon coming out, but look at this, the Troll's got his pillar down. That means Shook is all trapped up. It's a good repel to get himself out of there, but the barrel won't save him. Nif is going to be chased down. Arane is in the middle, underneath the tower. He will kill Nif. I'm not sure that Alliance can push back. Look at Froggen though on the map. He's pushing down towards the inhib turret, and Tabs here, he's trying to stop them recalling. They can't keep up with that because of Curb's barrels. Are we going to see them coming around? Look at Froggen, he's come towards the mid lane. Is he going to wait for someone to come back? They're not going to come actually, they're just going to recall.
Tabs had his spell shield, he didn't even use it against the Gragas barrel. Millennium force the fight and they make it work. They grab themselves 2 kills. Unfortunately, they didn't have the minion wave to work with them, so they couldn't sit and try to push for a tower. In addition, because of the pressure that Froggen was applying on the inhibitor turret, it forced Millennium to respond. They needed to send somebody to deal with him, and that allowed Alliance to, dare I say, get away only losing 2 kills.
Yeah, they didn't get anything, but it didn't really do any damage onto that tower though either, so slightly unfortunate. It did stop Millennium from, I guess we could say, sticking around there and pushing anymore, but nothing really more than that here from Froggen. He's just looking for those setup kills once again. Kevin's definitely not his target. We've seen that over and over, that he's not the man for Yasuo to be focusing down, although that Bloodthirst is going to help him out a lot more in that respect now. We've moved to that kind of slow, but further into the point of the game where if you make a mistake, you're going to lose a couple of men, and that, unfortunately, 32 to 40 minutes into the game means a couple of towers and possibly inhibs.
What I would like to see Millennium doing, they have 4 sweeping lenses, so I think they have 2 options available to them. Get control of vision in and around Baron and the red buff side of Alliance, and then try to force Alliance to respond to a Baron play. Once Alliance move in, then you can throw down the Solar Flare, use the Explosive Cask, and try grab some kills. Alternatively, what it looks like they're doing now, they can siege up. Yep. I think these are the 2 tools that Millennium has that Alliance have very little answer to. Look at the Gragas barrel, completely zoning Alliance away. Unless Alliance throw themselves in, which they can't because Froggen's not with them, it means Millennium can basically grab themselves an inhibitor on fight.
Oh, Nif getting caught out and absolutely destroyed there by the culling coming down, and Team Kirk going to take a lot of damage here. Throws his barrel out towards Tab. Look at Wicked. He was supposed to be the tank, but now he's dead. Shook falls to low. HP Tab's as low as well. There's a repel, but he can't go anywhere. They did pick up the 1 kill on towards Aranea. Are they going to get any more? Froggen has taken down the inning turret there. Here's Trundle coming back for it, and he's going to have a go at Froggen here. And honestly, he's winning this one out. He's doing so much damage. There's the ultimate. It's not going to do diddly squat. Kevin goes low. Froggen's low. Pillar comes down. Kevin gets the kill. Life steals back up the minions. There is Tabs going down as well in the base. Millennium have just got an ace out of nowhere.
They've grabbed themselves an inhibitor as well, and you have to think that Froggen did well in that fight. If he had a last whisper, he would probably have won, but he doesn't have one in his inventory. We did see the armor penetration working in his favor, and that massive shield from his passive at level 18, which he is. It's 690 damage that it blocked. Worked done in his favor. Unfortunately, not going to be enough to allow him to actually pick up the kill. Now that Millennium have got super minions streaming into the base, well, they will be in a moment, they've started off the Baron. We said they had 2 tools available, Siege or Baron. They've done both.
Oh, they've spotted Nif there at the back with that ward that's gone over. They're going to clear out one. Not for long though, another one comes straight back in. Nif basically going to be the chance. He throws Tippers in there. Will the tick get it? No, it won't. Millennium pick up Baron.
That would have been fantastic if it happened, but Millennium, they've got all the tools available to them. They've had every single dragon. They've caught the first Baron of the game. They're even on towers now with Alliance. And thanks to this whole procession, you can see so much gold on the side of Millennium. They're going to start upgrading their items. Infinity Edge, Triforce, Bloodthirster, Last Whisper on Creaton's Lucian. And if you think how strong Creaton is on Lucian, when Millennium destroyed Super Hot Crew, he also went unkilled. It's definitely a great champion, and we've seen the feature on Creaton, how he says he feels the pressure to perform. He's definitely performing this game.
And we see that Kevin actually has decided it's time for a little bit of magic resist in there. He's got his Merc Threads.
Yeah,
That's all he needs,
It's all the MR that you need. You look at the rest of his items, I mean, that's basically a full build on Trundle. He needs to be a little careful because Froggen now does have that last Whisper. Final Breath is up, but there's no barrier. There goes Froggen.
Yeah, does he care? No, he doesn't. Cullen's going to come to support him, and Kevin does all the damage in the world. That's, wow, Creaton going so low. Good knockup coming in. Meanwhile, they are going to catch out Kurt. Can they follow through? The Troll flashes over. J-Ree going to flash in there as well. Wicked's a dead man. Creaton actually picking that one up to go 6-0-4, and now Aranea comes around the side. He doesn't have that Sonya's just yet. Actually had his Randuins, which he didn't use to slow them all down. Millennium are going to be happy with that. A 2-for-1 scenario anyway. What are they going to do next, though, here? They've got that Baron buff on. They're going to have the region. I think that Alliance has to give up this turret.
Yeah, there's very little that Alliance can do. There is, however, a Flash Tibbers available as well as on the hunt. So Alliance thinking about defending. They've caught him up, but Tabs has jumped on.
Yeah, but what's that Flash Tibbers going to do for them? It ends up costing them 1 life. Now Niftually going to be chased down. A bite from Kevin. There's actually a good Cocoon coming on towards J-Ree. The stun from Nif as well. They're still chasing. Tibbers is pushing up the backside of them as well. There is the finisher. It's the Culling for Creaton. There are 4 men down. Millennium can win the game.
That's the game. Super Minions are onto the Nexus turrets, and with Creaton untouched, he's going to be able to melt these towers.
Shook cannot do anything about this one. Froggen actually coming back in. Who's he going for? No one really. He's dead again. There is the fall of Shook, and the Nexus turrets do start to go down. Wicked will respawn in. That won't be enough for them though. And Millennium are going to take down Alliance. Brilliant performance, a much needed win for them as well.
Yeah, the curse has been broken. Alliance losing a game on an even week, and you have to think Picks and Bans was arguably where it started. Locking in that Yasuo as the final pick, just not really working up, and there was no other knockups on the side of Alliance, and unfortunately for them, the split push strategy didn't work.
Aranea putting his belt on after that victory. Interesting stuff there from him before they go over and shake hands. But as we talked about, we made light of this whole odd week, even week thing. But it's been something to count on at least for Alliance in weeks 2 and 4. And in the first game of week 6 where they picked up wins. And to be honest, they need them. If not in any other game, in this one against Millennium, who were bottom of the table, this was such a vital win for Millennium.
It was incredibly important. And when you consider how far behind they were early, Shook had 4 successful ganks. He got first blood, he got flashes out of the mid lane and the top lane. He forced Aranea out of the jungle. And after all of that, Alliance couldn't capitalize. They couldn't actually convert those wins in the early game to objectives. And that's arguably because of the lack of strong initiation. And I think the lack of cohesion within the composition itself. I mean, Yasuo, yes, it's a strong champion. Yes, it does well. Yes, Froggen played him well. But the rest of the team didn't synergize with him.
No, and it was kind of reminiscent to what we saw with his Kayle in that last match, wasn't it? The fact that he did do a little bit to help out in terms of this split push and kind of pushing things down towards the end. But we saw that if the tanky top laner can kill you off, you know that you're not going to have too much fun. We did see how quickly he could damage and do the almost killing Creaton there at the bottom lane, but they were just all over the place, Alliance. This was very reminiscent of the odd week Alliance team.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also think if you consider the picks and bans once again, that tanky top, Renekton was locked in. That was actually the first lock-in for Alliance. Trundle was available. Trundle was snatched up in the next round of picks there for Kevin. And we know, we've talked about how Trundle just outscales Renekton. And we've seen Wicked playing Trundle in the past. You have to think, if both were up, and the decision was, let's go for the early game champion, and they got flashes, I just think Alliance didn't capitalize on those early flashes, on the early strengths of their champions enough.
And one thing that I really like from Millennium's side is the fact that actually Kevin, when he sees a Renekton on the other team, has been going in for the Shen pick, which for me would have had a far lesser impact in that one. He had the teleport on the Trundle. He could be the one that stopped Froggen pushing over and over. Yes, they lost an inhib turret here and there, but he ended 5-0-14 with that Trundle. That is an incredible performance from Kevin.
Especially when you consider their team had 22 kills.
Yeah.
So he was involved in 19 of his team's 22 kills. He didn't buy boots until 32 or 33 minutes. His positioning was superb. There was very good ganks from Aranea. I think we've seen 3 consecutive ganks onto Wicked. And you also have to point it out. I mean, Wicked, yes, he picked a Renekton, but he was picked on. I mean, Millennium, I don't want to say they camped his lane, but they ganked it frequently. And they got Kevin ahead. They balanced out that early game weakness that Trundle has. And then once we got to the team fights, Trundle just said, well, I'm going to subjugate you and you can do nothing to kill me.
Well, it's a traditional tactic that has been proven to work against Wicked. If you put him off his game, he's not going to be playing well and he's going to be playing without confidence. Either way, it's a great win for Millennium there. And we're going to head over to Shox and Deficio, who have Millennium's top laner Kevin with them to talk about that win.
Thank you very much, Joe and Quickshot. Indeed, Kevin, who was playing the troll, Trundle, and very good, I tell you that. That was one of your picks. What was the rest of the plan?
So basically, to ban almost every mid laner we hate to play against. So Ziggs is just a must ban for us because we just hate to play against it and it's super annoying. Kaylee, of course, I don't know, not much to say. And what was our last ban? Oh, it was actually, they banned Kassadin. We didn't expect them actually to ban Kassadin. Our plan was to ban Kassadin. And yeah, the Karthus ban was just because people banned yesterday Karthus versus him. So we just banned it.
What about the Yasuo pick then? Because it's often been banned against Froggen, but we haven't actually seen him play it. What do you think when he actually locked it in? And also despite the fact there was no other knock-ups.
So we didn't even thought too much about Yasuo. Like we completely maybe forgot about him because for us he isn't something special anymore. Like they didn't have any knock-up to follow him up. They just played him as split push, and I was just at some point so fat that I just could 1v1 him easily. So we didn't have a concrete plan versus him or something. They just picked it, and we just tried to counter it as much as we can.
Tell me about that 1 versus 1 moment when Froggen was going for the inhibitor once again. He likes to do that. It was very close.
Yeah, like we were just pushing, and we saw Yasuo. Like I was already telling, if he comes, I will TP. So he came, and I was like, oh. And I didn't have anything up. Like I had maybe I had only my flash up, I think. So I was actually worried a bit that I won't beat him. But we just fought, and then I even misclicked my E. So I wanted to do it behind him, but he jumped at this moment. And I don't know how my auto attack hit him and killed him. So my heart was just beating really hard, and I was like just so happy that it didn't turn out the other way.
Well, okay. About the 1v1s though, early in the lane versus Renekton, you had some issues. Talk me through the matchup of Trundle versus Renekton.
So the matchup is normally early, always the favorite is always Renekton. This time actually I got kind of surprised from the Doran's Blade. It was really an aggressive stage of the early, and yeah, he just pushed me in, and I kind of don't like to last it at the turret with Trundle. It's a bit hard when a Renekton with Doran's Blade stands there and harass you with the Q. It's a lot of damage. So the early was really hard for me, but after the first gank, it just went easier.
And then I'd actually like to know more general top lane picks, because we've seen Shen, Irelia, a lot of new things, Jax, we had the Aatrox. What do you think about all these new champion picks, and which one do you actually prefer the most?
I prefer the assassins most, like Jax, Irelia. Like they were always my favorites already from season 2. So I would love to see that meta again, and I hope it will go this way. But if the enemy picks like a Renekton or something, you just have to pick a Trundle or another tanky one. So I hope it will go like that with Irelia and Jax, because I just love these champions.
Oh, we hope so too. And then the last question, how do you think it's going with your team now overall? If you look at the standings, what is possible now with the trends that are going on?
So there are still 14 games left. It's just a half time. So we still have a lot of games in front of us where we can turn everything around, like everything can still change. So we'll just try to do as much as we can for that. We always go somehow 1-1 in a weekend. I don't know, first game we lose, second we win. We will try to just change that and just improve everything we can.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Congratulations once again. And now we're going to head back over to Joe and Quickshot to see how today's games have affected the table.
Thank you very much, guys. And that wraps up week 6 here in Europe. So let's have a look at where the teams now stand. In first place, Roccat, despite their loss earlier on, are still first place at 10 wins, 4 losses. Then we have Gambit in second with 9 for 5. Then following on that is Fnatic SK Gaming and the Super Hot Crew all tied for third with 7 wins and 7 losses. And that, by the way, if you didn't already know, is a 7-game losing streak for Fnatic.
Yeah, beating every team in the league, only to lose to every team in the league. It's a phenomenal story. Next up, we have the Copenhagen Wolves, who are in 6th place at 6-8. They've had a perfect week. We'll see if they can keep it up next week. And then at the bottom of the table for yet another week, Alliance and Millennium. They are tied for 7th at 5 wins, 9 losses apiece.
And with 8 games, 8 teams, and 40 players to look back on, we'd like to single out these 5 who went above and beyond in their positions this week, starting off in the top lane with Freddy122.
Yeah, he grabbed himself 196 average CS in 20 minutes across both games. He brought out the Aatrox this week, played Dr. Mundo as well, going 1, 4, and 2.
Yeah, and in the jungle, the man that really stood out and played an incredible game for SK in their win today, Svenskeren.
Yeah, he picked his own OP champions in the jungle this week to be a part of the 79% of his team's kills. He's gone 5, 3, and 10 on the week. He played Elise yesterday, he played Pantheon today, and I love his Pantheon. Probably the best ganking Pant in the league.
Ganking pants, always good. In the mid lane, we have Jesus, who, when are people going to start banning Ziggs against him?
Hopefully next week. He pags his Ziggs stats once again, going 7, 3, 7. Played it twice, and as we've already highlighted, his Ziggs is phenomenal. Played it 5 times in total this league.
And then in the AD carry role, the newly crowned Farm Master, Forgiven.
Yeah, set a single game CS record of 658. To be fair, that's just because the game was incredibly long, but it's what they wanted to do. He did it with style. He goes 12, 0, and 8 on the week. He played Caitlyn as well as Lucian and did very well with it.
And his support player, Unlimited, who again had another killer week.
Yeah, assisted in 22 of the 29 kills in both of his games. His Leona in both times, and his initiations were superb. I'm particularly happy to say that he didn't play Karma, because I'm not entirely convinced that his Karma positioning is super strong.
I agree with you on that one. He's certainly done better elsewhere. And then there's, of course, one player who went even further. For exemplary gameplay, this week's MVP goes to the Copenhagen Wolves jungler, Amazing.
Yeah, had an amazing week. He goes 5, 1, and 18. That is a 23 KDA. He's got 79% kill participation in both of those games as Lee Sin. And we actually have a highlight from one of those MVP Lee Sin kicks. So let's take a look.
So again, it was such a aggressive move, now going even further.
Wow, superb stuff from Amazing there, landing the kick onto Peke, following straight across and on towards Yellowstar, just punting him back in towards the team.
I absolutely love that play. He jumps onto Peke's Syndra, then dashes over to a ward to kick Yellowstar backwards. That was phenomenal Eastern play. I think that may even be banworthy against him next week.
I think so as well. He's been focused quite a lot, and I think his performance this weekend is only going to really increase that. So, with the weekend continuing over in North America, let's have a look at the games that they're going to be bringing your way. They're going to kick off things on Saturday with Dignitas versus Evil Geniuses, and then TSM taking on Coast.
Following that will be Curse taking on Cloud9, and we'll see how CLG performs with another week of practice with Dexter. They'll be taking on XDG. You can catch those matches starting at 9 p.m. Central European Time. That's 12 noon Pacific.
And of course, you won't have to wait long until we come back, because next week on Thursday, we'll be continuing the action here in the European LCS, kicking off with Alliance versus Fnatic. That's going to be a brilliant one. And then, well, talking about brilliant, 2 very much informed teams once again. SK Gaming taking on Super Hot Crew.
Second half of the day will start with Millennium versus Gambit, and that will be a full-strength Gambit. We will then be following that with Roccat versus the Copenhagen Wolves. I want to see how the Wolves perform against the league's #1 team.
Going to be an intense week next week, that's for sure. That's all going to be starting at 7 p.m. Central European Time, which is 10 a.m. Pacific next Thursday. So for myself, Quickshot, Shox, Demon, Deficio, and the entire live broadcast team, thank you for watching. We'll see you back here very soon on the road to the Summoners Cup.
That's gonna look pathetic if we lose though. I think we should go back to holding hands.
It's going to have to be the manliest of man drops, and it is going to work out pretty well, but instantly gets kicked out. Cyanide goes down, so as his next. He's going to get focused out. This is Copenhagen Wolves just wrecking Fnatic's day, wrecking their week. they're going in. Solar Flare goes down, but Hulberto's going deep. Mixer's going to focus on towards Nuke Nook, but look how much damage he's taking now. Mixer's all in trouble. He's going to get taken out. Fury, oh, they've got him between a rock and a hard place. Sorry, Zero comes in. A lot of damage on towards him, but still no kills. And the Super Hot crew are melting it. Impaler goes down. Gambit are just romping to victory here.
Here comes the boom in there. There's a call in as well. Vander going very, very low. Svenskern is going to pick up the kill there on towards Zazas. A nice, easy Baron to finish off here by SK. Being served up by Rocket as Candy Panda goes hammering into the two on the top. Baron goes down.
Do you wanna be the snowman? Let it go, let it go.
Are they going to get any more? Froggen has taken down the init turret there. Here's Trundle coming back for it, and he's going to have a go at Froggen here. And honestly, he's winning this one out. He's doing so much damage. There's the ultimate. It's not going to do diddly squat. Kevin goes low. Froggen's low. Pillar comes down. Kevin gets the kill.